Meanwhile, there's an angry orangutan on the loose in South Korea. President Furious George was in Cheongju today as part of his Asia Palooza tour, and they're keeping him happy by giving him presents everywhere he goes, including a doozy from the president of South Korea.
We present this gold crown to you on this joyous occasion of your state visit to Gyeongju, because it symbolizes the spirit of Silla, which brought peace to the Korean peninsula for the first time, and the opening of the golden age of the Korea-U.S. alliance.
How nice. I guess they were watching millions of us marching to say we didn't want a king, and they thought, hey, I have a great idea for a gift.
MAGA Mike Johnson and MAGA Republicans on Capitol Hill are not having a good day. They are incredibly frightened about more mass resignations within the GOP. They have Donald Trump making like 400 posts every single night. I'm not exaggerating that. 400 posts where now Trump saying that Michelle Obama was actually the person who was running the Biden administration, and Michelle Obama is using auto pens, and Donald Trump is posting some of the most like deranged, unhinged AI videos saying that Venezuela has surrendered to him.
He showed the common man being fed through gears of the brutal, dehumanizing industrial age. He took on the American right wing of his day, its worst evils: hatred of immigrants, contempt for the truth, greed, and the abuse of power. We are fighting those same evils today.
You know what nobody talks about anymore? The fact that Jim Carrey, yes, the Jim Carrey from Ace Ventura and The Mask, became one of Trump's most brutal critics through something you'd never expect: paintings. And when he sat down with Jimmy Kimmel to talk about it, he didn't hold back one bit. Let me take you back to 2017, right after Trump took office. While most celebrities were tweeting their outrage, Jim Carrey picked up a paintbrush and started creating some of the most savage political artwork you've ever seen.
And that they admitted, that Maduro admitted that actually Biden is running Tren de Aragua. I mean, Trump is posting post, and the MAGA Republicans are being asked, like, you know, what are you okay with Donald Trump as part of these posts, just like continuing to call people the R word? And MAGA Mike Johnson was asked about it. Watch what he says. Here, play this clip.
But specifically, what are your thoughts about President Trump calling Governor Walz retarded?
Well, look, that's not the word that I would choose. I think his reaction was probably a spontaneous one to the enormous amount of fraud that was announced there. We're thinking it may be, it could be $2 billion.
If your spontaneous reaction as the president is to make a social media post calling a governor the R word, if that's how you spontaneously react.
And as you might have guessed, Republicans are again screaming and crying about election fraud. It's weird how it's only fraud when they lose, right? I mean, what are the chances? This was not a good night for the president. Everything he touched was a loser. Trump hasn't been this embarrassed since he found out there was a Donald Trump Jr. But don't worry. If you're tired of all the losing, fear not, he's got an excuse. In fact, he's got two of them. He wrote, Trump wasn't on the ballot and shutdown were the two reasons that Republicans lost elections tonight. Now, if Republicans had won and he wasn't on the ballot, would he take credit for that? Oh, yes, he definitely would, but he lost. And then he posted this. He posted, and so it begins, which was either a response to Mamdani winning the mayoral race or he just sat down on the toilet. I don't know.
We're talking over 100 paintings in just 2 years, each one more brutal than the last. And he wasn't posting them to some private gallery. He was dropping them on Twitter for millions to see, almost every single week. In September 2018, Carrey went on Jimmy Kimmel Live to discuss his artwork, and that's when things got really interesting. Kimmel showed some of Carrey's paintings on screen, and the audience got to see just how far this comedy legend was willing to go to expose what he saw as a nightmare unfolding in America. One of the paintings Kimmel displayed showed Trump screaming, literally just screaming with his mouth wide open. The caption, "You scream, I scream. Will we ever stop screaming?"
Sit in my room. Trump is toast.
I like that one.
Trump is toast. Yeah, man.
And so you just kind of digest the news of the day.
It's an affirmation.
I'm glad some good is coming out of this stuff. This is Robert Mueller.
Robert Mueller putting the squeeze on the president. just to relieve the stress. You know what I mean?
What is that supposed to mean? What would motivate him to post "and so it begins" at almost midnight? What would compel him to contact his social media guy, Dan Scavino, that late at night to say, Dan, I need you to post "and so it begins"? All caps, Mr. President. Yeah, all caps, you idiot. And put a ... in front of it, too. No wonder Dan Scavino looks like this. I mean, the man's face is all caps.
We should probably have a floor for the presidency that says that those people really shouldn't get into that office, because if you behave that way anywhere else, you would not be able to hold your position at any position at all. So next up, you have MAGA Mike Johnson being asked about the war crimes being committed off the coast of Venezuela. And here's what he says. Let's play it.
On the Caribbean boat strikes, the administration has acknowledged that there was a second strike in that attack in September, but they have not said if there were any defenseless survivors. Should they release the video to Congress, the unedited video to Congress and to the American public? And two, if the defenseless survivors were killed, would that constitute a violation of the laws of war?
I'm not going to prejudge any of that. As you know, both of the Armed Services Committee and the Senate and the House will be having hearings on this to review, and that's their role. I have been listening. Again, I was pretty busy yesterday, didn't follow a lot of the news, but I caught up a little bit early this morning. That my assessment of this, my understanding is that most of the people that have looked at this, at least in a preliminary review, say that the admiral who ordered the second strike thought it was necessary to complete the mission. He's a highly decorated, highly respected admiral in the Navy, and he made that call.
Okay, 2 points there. One, before every question that MAGA Mike Johnson gets asked,
Carrey had even pitched it to the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery as the official portrait of the 45th president. Can you imagine the actual Smithsonian getting a painting of Trump mid-scream as his presidential portrait? But that wasn't even close to the most savage one. Carrey created a painting of Trump eating ice cream, a double scoop, just like he famously got while everyone else got single scoops. Except in this painting, Trump is tweaking his own nipple while enjoying it. Yeah, you read that right. And Carrey posted it to Twitter with millions of people seeing it. Before we dive deeper into this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we're covering the moments of resistance that mainstream media has completely forgotten about. This is history they don't want you remembering. When Kimmel asked Carrey about why he started creating these paintings, the comedian got serious for a moment.
J.D. Vance's half-brother, V.D. Vance, lost his bid to become mayor of Cincinnati, and I didn't even know J.D. Vance had a half-brother, but he does, and even though he got J.D.'s endorsement, he lost by more than 56 points. This is little bro, Corey Bowman. He is the child of, I think, J.D. Vance's father's second marriage to a Broyhill sectional.
It's hard to understand what's going on. I mean, I really, 1 minute you feel like, oh my gosh, this is going to be, now the landslide's going to start. And then there'll be some other weaselly little, sidestep they do or whatever it is. And, this administration is a rabid dog, and it's turning us upside down. And all, as far as I'm concerned, it's as obvious as the nose on your face.
he takes a deep breath like he's coming out for water because he doesn't know what the hell's going to be asked. And he's just terrified about what the answer is going to be. And they sure are throwing that admiral under the bus right now. It's the admiral. He's a very respected admiral. He wouldn't have ordered it. By the way, we've showed footage of Pete Hegseth the very next day on Fox on September 3rd saying, I watched it. I was involved. I was the guy. So what else is MAGA trying to do to deal with this? Well, you've got MAGA Republican Congresswoman Kat Kamerick, and she's like, basically, the bottom line is we have too many immigrants in America. 1 in 6 people in America are immigrants. That's not compatible with Western civilization. Here, play this clip.
And it's pretty staggering when you take a step back and you realize that today, 1 in 6 people here in the United States is foreign born. 1 in 6. That, quite frankly, is not sustainable to maintain a culture that we are known for here in the United States.
And then finally, you have MAGA Republican Congresswoman Salazar. She's been pushing for that war in Venezuela. Take their oil. Our oil companies are thirsty, she said before. Get our oil companies control of Venezuela. Here's what she says.
Said he couldn't just watch this nightmare unfold without doing something. He described Trump as Orange Julius Caesar, a wannabe dictator wrapped in fake tan and delusion. Carrey explained that he wanted to be the lighthouse warning people that they were headed for the rocks. And the paintings kept coming. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Carrey painted her and called it, "This is the portrait of a so-called Christian whose only purpose in life is to lie for the wicked." Monstrous. That painting went absolutely viral. Trump supporters lost their minds, but Carrey didn't care. He kept painting. After the Parkland school shooting in 2018, Carrey turned his brush on the NRA and politicians who refused to strengthen gun control.
All we know is the only solution was to completely smash the whole place down. I wish the master builder would master build in private like the rest of us do. So far, Trump is behaving less like a president and more like a property brother. He blew up the East Wing. He redecorated the Oval Office. He paved over the Rose Garden. He added a golden hall of presidents, and he isn't done.
But it's a very, and covering for this president is like putting makeup on a melanoma. You know, not only unsightly, but it's dangerous. I'd see that everybody's a hypocrite because everybody's imagined themselves standing there with his head. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe at least half the country. You know, we're in a tough spot. It's a very, very divided world, and those on I guess you'd call it the left side. I just call it the sensible side. Is, you know, we're sitting there watching this nonsense happen, and people come out and talk about it like we're kindergartners. You know, and covering for this president is like.
This is not going to be hard. 80% of the Venezuelans voted for the opposition. You have 8 million Venezuelans in exile. We're talking about the largest reserves of oil in the world that will be doing business with the American oil companies. And that is something that I have made very sure that they understand. American companies in Venezuela for the next 100 years.
American oil companies, go for it. That's what the American people are thinking about right now. American oil companies. I want to bring in Democratic Congressmember Jimmy Gomez from right out here in Los Angeles. Congressman, good to see you. Like, these are your colleagues. Like, how do you go to work? How do you go to work with these people on a day-to-day basis, man?
Well, yeah, we're living in an environment where, you know, up is down and down is up. Marjorie Taylor Greene is making sense when it comes to the ACA, and the rest of the Republican Party has completely gone unhinged. Like, they're insane. If you just listen to what they're saying, you have Salazar who's saying, hey, let's just invade Venezuela for their oil. Back in the 1950s, they would have used the CIA to overthrow the government to get access to their oil. You know, this is just bonkers. And then you have this woman saying, hey, there's too many immigrants in the United States. Well, this is a country of immigrants. We're a country of immigrants, not of kings, and they tend to forget their history. And then Whiskey Pete over here, who's never should have been confirmed to be the Secretary of Defense, is ordering illegal strikes. He's also releasing war plans on an insecure signal chat, thinking that it is quote unquote secure. And then you have Donald Trump that's sending tweet after tweet after tweet in the middle of the night. They've gone bonkers. I'm not sure if it's they're trying to gaslight us by diverting our attention to one direction away from the disastrous economy, but either way, they have lost their minds.
He painted Marco Rubio with blood dripping from his hands, with the caption pointing out that Rubio had taken over $3 million from the NRA. He painted a dead student sprawled out on an American flag with the words, "Oh say, can't you see?" These weren't cute little political cartoons. These were massive, visceral, angry pieces of art that forced people to confront uncomfortable truths, and Carrey was posting them relentlessly. On Kimmel's show, the comedian revealed something fascinating. He said he'd been drawing authority figures since he was a kid. He used to draw his teacher getting attacked by missiles in the back of the classroom. The teacher actually saved those drawings and sent them back to him years later when he became famous. "She saw the divine spark, Jimmy," Carrey joked. But underneath the humor, there was real pain. Carrey told Kimmel that what appealed to him about creating this art was that Trump can't take away Americans' innocence. No matter how much chaos and corruption happened, no matter how much Trump tried to normalize the abnormal, he couldn't destroy what was fundamentally good about people.
Our Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, said if the shutdown doesn't get resolved in the next week, we will see, quote, mass chaos, mass flight delays, and mass cancellations just in time for the holidays. And I'll tell you something, I remember the very first time I saw Sean Duffy on Real World Boston. He was a contestant on that show. And I said to myself, you know what? Someday that kid's going to shut down all of our nation's airports. And I was right. Trump has been desperately trying to convince anyone who'll listen that Democrats are responsible for the shutdown and that it has nothing to do with him trying to hide the Epstein files. The gaslighting has reached a fever pitch as Trump cuts off the supply of food to children, families, senior citizens, etc. But Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, wants you to know, just because they're cutting off your food and want to cut off your health insurance, that doesn't mean they don't care.
Sit in my room. Trump is toast.
I like that one. Trump is toast. Yeah, man.
And so you just kind of digest the news of the day.
It's an affirmation.
I'm glad some good is coming out of this stuff. This is Robert Mueller.
Robert Mueller putting the squeeze on the president. Just to relieve the stress. You know what I mean?
Right, start with Salazar, right? Because Salazar was out there making the promise. She's got the Liberty Act or whatever she calls it. And she's like, Donald Trump has read it. He will never be going after anybody other than the criminals. And everybody else is fine. He's given me his word. And that's what she said, you know, to her community in South Florida, immigrants. I mean, she's Cuban, but she's got a lot of Venezuelans and Haitians and other people in her congressional district. She just threw them under the bus. And now she's out there, it seems, because she's betrayed, you know, the Venezuelans and the Cubans and other Latinos in her district and across the country, saying, all right, war. We're going to do the war. We're going to oust Maduro, because that's her only, I think that's her only thing she can go to say, like, look, we're going to take over Venezuela at this point.
Yeah, no, first, no one should trust her when it comes to immigration reform. I never did. I know some people in my caucus was trying to work with her to create that bipartisan coalition, but you can't trust these individuals because they never stick to their word. They're also inconsistent. And then here's the thing. Invading Venezuela, I understand people want to take out Maduro, but if you invade Venezuela, you don't know where it's going to go. You don't know if the hardliners are going to get in control, if there's going to be a peaceful or a stable transition, or you're going to create so much chaos that you're going to have a flood of immigrants.
That hit different, you know? Here's a guy who made millions of people laugh in movies, now using his art to process the collective trauma of watching democracy get twisted into something unrecognizable. The paintings got so much attention that in October 2018, the Macaroni Gallery in Los Angeles held a full exhibition called Indignation: Political Drawings by Jim Carrey, 2016 to 2018. Over 100 of his original drawings and paintings were displayed chronologically, reading like a visual diary of Trump's first 2 years in office. Critics called it everything from powerful political resistance to celebrity vanity project. But nobody could deny the raw emotion in the work. One piece showed Trump and his administration going down and down into some kind of hellish crypt, with the caption describing Giuliani's hammy thighs chafing in the wet heat of his master's crypt. Another showed immigrant children being separated from their families, with Melania Trump smiling for a photo op as a crying child screamed. These weren't subtle, they weren't meant to be. If you're appreciating this deep dive into forgotten resistance, go ahead and drop a like on this video, because there's more to this story.
It's the show the FCC doesn't want you to see. We're doing something fun tonight. We're doing something unprecedented tonight. Now, although I think it's unprecedented, I did not bother to check. Tonight, Stephen is a guest on our show. I will simultaneously be a guest on his show. We thought it might be a fun way to drive the president nuts.
People leaving more than they have. So they're creating the environment that's most likely to create a situation that people don't know where it ends up. So they think it's, we're going to go in there, they're going to treat us as liberators, it's going to be a great day. You have no idea what's going to happen. And she can't be trusted, because one of the things is she's just doing whatever she thinks she can in order to win re-election.
Tell me about the bill that you're introducing, though, as it relates to immigration, and I know it's a big priority of yours.
Yeah, so I'm introducing a bill. It's going to drop. It is called Make Housing Affordable, Defend Democracy. One of the things we saw in Trump's one big, beautiful bill was a $175 billion slush fund to turn ICE and CBP into his own national police force that can be sent anywhere at any time with no accountability to terrorize our neighborhoods, under the premise that they're going after criminal immigrants, which is not true. We even seen them go arrest U.S. citizens just based on what they look like, the language they speak, the job that they're doing. So this bill would take that $175 billion and put it into tackling our housing affordability crisis.
In 2020, Carrey took his Trump criticism to an even bigger stage, Saturday Night Live. He signed on to play Joe Biden during the presidential election, which meant he'd be going head-to-head with Alec Baldwin's Trump impression week after week. The premiere episode in October 2020 showed the first presidential debate, and it was chaos. Carrey's Biden kept coaching himself not to let his inner Whitey Bulger come out, while Baldwin's Trump constantly interrupted. When things got too intense, Carrey's Biden took a timeout to listen to his meditation app, narrated by Harry Styles. But here's what made it powerful. Carrey wasn't just doing funny voices. He was using comedy to show how exhausting it was to deal with Trump's constant stream of lies and interruptions. The sketch ended with Maya Rudolph as Kamala Harris trying to referee the whole mess, playing up her Momola persona and offering to make sandwiches with apple slices if everyone would just calm down. Critics had mixed reactions to Carrey's Biden. Some said he was too manic, too physical for Biden's calmer demeanor, but that wasn't really the point. The point was using SNL's massive platform to show how absurd American politics had become. Carrey only played Biden for 6 episodes before stepping down in December 2020.
It is frightening to know the President of the United States is being briefed on world events by the same source as everyone at the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport Chili's to go. One thing you could say about Donald Trump, though, he has a vivid imagination. He has created a dangerous organization to get the old people excited and fired up, a supervillain called Antifa. And the reason we know Antifa is organized against the government is because their matching signs indicate they are somehow in league with Kinko's.
You're seeing people out there with thousands of signs that all match, pre-bought, pre-put together. They're organized and someone is funding it. We're going to get to the funding of Antifa. We're going to get to the root of Antifa, and we are going to find and charge all of those people who are causing this chaos in Portland and all these other cities across our country.
Yeah, and if we can't find them, we're going to pretend we did.
It would invest in down payment assistance for first-time home buyers, spark a housing boom that would create 1 million units of housing per year for the next 6 years. It would help people with rental assistance who are rent burdened. This is what people want. They don't want us to destroy our economy. They don't want our democracy to be put at risk because of this police force. It's too dangerous. So what I'm saying is, hey, you elect Democrats, we're going to use this money, $175 billion, to tackle affordability in this country once and for all. That's what we will prioritize. We don't talk about being America first. We deliver on policies that actually help working people.
I want to show you this clip as well. This is MAGA Republican Congress member Andy Harris. That's what he had to say on healthcare this morning. Let's play this clip.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on making healthcare affordable for everybody, not just the 7% who receive Obamacare. And then we're going to continue to talk about how important it is that we control our federal deficit going forward in order to keep prices down, to keep inflation down, to keep mortgage rates down, because that's what Americans are thinking about. We think we have the solutions. More subsidies are not the solution. Actually, the free market is the solution, with less government interference and less government spending.
Yeah. He said his term was only meant to be 6 weeks and joked that he was thrilled to be elected as your SNL president, comedy's highest call of duty. But by early 2020, something changed. Carrey announced he was done painting political cartoons. In an interview, he explained that he felt like he'd gotten stuck in the back and forth commentary cycle, and he'd delivered his message. We're still headed for the rocks, but I've decided you understand my message. I don't need to be steeped in it anymore, he said. So what did he start painting instead? Mangoes. Yeah, mangoes. He called them the fruit of the gods that represent abundance and sweetness and the gifts of the universe. From brutal political takedowns to tropical fruit. That's quite the pivot. But here's why the Jim Carrey and Jimmy Kimmel story matters. It showed that resistance to Trump came from unexpected places and took unexpected forms. While Kimmel was getting threatened with cancellation and license revocations for his monologues in 2025, back in 2018, Carrey was creating an entire visual archive of Trump's failures, corruption, and cruelty. Those paintings are still out there. They're documented. They're preserved. And years from now, When people look back at this era, they'll see that Jim Carrey, a comedian who made his career playing goofy characters, used his platform and his talent to create a visual record of resistance. On Jimmy Kimmel Live that night in 2018, Carrey didn't just talk about his art, he talked about why it mattered. He talked about refusing to be silent while democracy crumbled. He talked about using whatever tools you have, even if it's just a paintbrush, to fight back. And Kimmel, he gave Carrey the platform to share that message with millions of viewers. That's what late night comedy was supposed to be about, giving voice to dissent, holding power accountable, and yes, making people laugh even when everything feels terrible. Before you go, make sure you're subscribed to America Facticity because we're documenting all the resistance moments mainstream media has forgotten. Hit that notification bell so you never miss when we expose the next chapter of this story. Jim Carrey painted over 100 brutal takedowns of Trump. He went on Jimmy Kimmel and explained why. He played Biden opposite Trump's chaos on SNL. And then, when he felt his message was delivered, he walked away to paint mangoes. That's not giving up. That's knowing when you've said what needed to be said. And those paintings? They're still out there, reminding us that sometimes the most powerful weapon against corruption isn't a tweet or a speech. Sometimes it's just an artist with a brush, refusing to look away.